All right, I have 12 o'clock, so we will get started. Before we do get started, I will review the available accessibility features for this meeting. American Sign Language interpretation is being provided by Purple Communications. The ASL interpreter will be spotlit for the duration of the meeting. Space has been reserved in the top right corner of each slide for the interpreter's video. Automated closed captions are available in English, Spanish, and additional languages. Select the CC button in the navigation bar, and then select the language you would like the closed captions to be displayed in. Presenters will verbalize the text and describe any images on the slides throughout the presentation. A PDF of the presentation and a TXT file of the presentation is available for download at ometro.com/February 2026. Please note that the presentation portion of this meeting will be recorded and published on Metro's YouTube channel. You are welcome to post comments or questions using the chat feature. Chat messages may be automatically read over the presenter for anyone utilizing a screen reader. Please limit chat messages to comments or questions related to the presentation. Okay, let's begin. My name is Alicia Johnson. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am a white woman in my late 30s with light brown shoulder-length hair. I am wearing glasses and an orange sweater and sitting in an office space. I am the Director of Civil Rights and Inclusion at Metro Transit. In my role, I also serve as Metro's ADA coordinator and Title VI coordinator. In this presentation, my colleague Evan Schweitz, Metro's Senior Manager of Planning and Scheduling, will review the proposed service changes. I will then review the service equity analysis results as the proposed service changes qualify as a major service change per Metro Transit's Title VI program. The time remaining after all proposed changes have been presented will be an open comment period. Comments may also be submitted through the online comment form available at ometro.com/February 2026. All right, over to you, Evan.
Thank you. As Alicia said, my name is Evan. I am a middle-aged white male in a blue shirt, and I am the Senior Manager of Planning and Scheduling. And the slide number 2 says that Metro Transit connects people, places, and opportunities through quality transit services. And this is the mission statement that drives every decision that we make. So as we're preparing for this set of proposed changes, on slide 3, it lists out 8 different routes that will be impacted. Routes 3, 4, 11, 13, 18, 26, Route 30, and Route 106. And this proposal, because of the scale, is considered a major change according to Metro's Title VI program plan. And we'll talk more about that in a few slides. So the reason why we are proposing to make some service changes is to make continual progress on our Metro Next plan, which is the strategic plan that Metro has adopted since 2022. And that plan is really tied to public feedback and increasing the frequency of buses, expanding connections, and improving reliability. So the changes that we're making now are in line with those goals, and those more specific changes coming up are in coordination with future streetcar service. So to start through all of those changes, the first route that we mentioned was proposed changes for Route 3. Anyone familiar with this route knows that it has a detour near the Nebraska Medicine campus because of a long-term detour. So we are proposing some schedule adjustments to improve reliability. There's no impact to MOBI service. For changes to Route 4, on slide 6. What we're doing is proposing to increase our evening service. Right now, it runs once an hour, and we're recommending that it run every 30 minutes around 8 p.m. We are also recommending with this change that our last trip to Regency Circle would be at 8:25 p.m. And then again, for those familiar with Route 4, they know that Route 4 interlines with Route 30 and Route 106. And we are proposing to remove those interlines with no impact to Moby service. So you may be wondering, what does interline mean? So the slide here that we have shows at the bottom a graphic with Ak-Sar-Ben Transit Center in text on the left, downtown in the center, and our North Omaha Transit Center on the right. And the icons show that the buses will pass from Route 11, serving Ak-Sar-Ben into downtown, and that same bus will continue as a Route 106 from downtown to North Omaha Transit Center and vice versa. So it allows the same bus to alternate service between two or more routes that arrive or depart from a common location. And this is done to improve the efficiency of our service. And it's also indicated on our PDF schedules. So anytime this happens, there is guidance that a rider can find on our website. So the route pages, the PDF download will show a column that says from route and to route to indicate any of those trips that alternate. So continuing with that, the proposed changes for Route 11 would also be related to interline changes. We are proposing to shift the schedule by up to 15 minutes to better connect with Route 18 at Ak-Sar-Ben Transit Center. It will also offer a backup connection for the 55. It'll be about a 10-minute wait from the 55 to transfer to a Route 11 at Ak-Sar-Ben. So the interline change, it will connect with Route 106 on weekdays, and it will interline with Route 4 on Saturday and Sunday. The frequency of service for Route 11 on Sunday will go from once an hour to every 30 minutes. And it will also run later at night on Sundays, with the last bus ending at 8:39 p.m. instead of 7:18 p.m. as it does currently. The Moby service hours surrounding Route 11 would be extended to match that evening service. Proposed changes for Route 13 on slide 9. We are proposing to restore 15-minute weekday peak service. So that's during the rush hour periods from North Downtown to the MCC South Transit Center. And our peak service is generally on this route from 5:45 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then again from 2:45 p.m. to 6:45 p.m. And so buses would run more frequently during those periods on that portion of Route 13. And there would be no impact to Moby service in this area. One minor change that we're making or proposing for Route 18 would be making permanent a detour that we've been running for the past few months. So because of the streetcar, we have been avoiding the area of Farnham and Harney in downtown. Those streets are under construction, and our detour, as indicated on the map on this slide, is to use Douglas Street from 20th to 13th, and then proceed to the downtown layover at 14th and Dodge, and then continue west on Dodge to 19th Street. So we've been running this service for a few months, and we're proposing to continue this new routing as our regular pattern. Slide 11 shows some proposed changes for Route 26. This is our North Omaha circulator. And today, this circulator operates in alternating directions once an hour, clockwise and counterclockwise. And so we received the suggestion from the community to have this circulate in one direction only. That would allow the same bus to travel on the route every 30 minutes, and it would clarify which side of the street the bus will pick up. So bus stops for the clockwise direction would be removed so that it's very obvious where to stand to catch the bus, because we do have quite a few riders that found themselves on the wrong side of the street as the bus approached. Because of this change, the dashed lines on the map show areas that would lose their current service. So it's a small segment on Vane Street from Minnelusa Boulevard to 24th, and then proceeding south on 24th to Titus. Alternate service is available on Titus Street and Minnelusa Boulevard in the counterclockwise direction. And then there's one small segment on Fontanelle Boulevard from Curtis to Reddick that would not be served by the bus. And again, with this change, we are not anticipating any impacts to Moby service. All right, slide 12 shows proposed changes for Route 106. Because the inner line will be switching from Route 4 to Route 11, we will make some adjustments to the southbound schedule, departing NOTC and arriving into downtown about 3 to 4 minutes later than it does now. And then the Moby service hours would shift slightly to line up with this new schedule. All right. Slide 13 lists out the proposed changes for Route 30. And this is probably the most significant change that we are recommending at this time. Route 30 currently travels from Florence to downtown, and we are proposing that once it gets to 30th and Dodge, instead of traveling east into downtown, it would travel west to Exarban Transit Center via Saddle Creek. Some of the reasons for this change is in coordination with the future streetcar and not wanting to duplicate service on the Farnham and Harney corridors. We also are interested to add service to Saddle Creek, which provides additional connections to multiple grocery stores, a hospital, 13 schools, and 2 universities. This also will open up faster travel between the North Omaha Transit Center and the Exarban Transit Center compared to Route 18. And we'll see about a 6-minute faster travel between those locations. And Moby service hours for Route 30 would shift to match this new area and schedule. Slide 14 shows a map of the new recommended routing for Route 30. So the dashed line shows service on Farnham and Harney into downtown. That is the current pattern for Route 30. And the highlighted line shows the bus traveling west on Dodge to 42nd, south on 42nd to Farnham, and then west on Farnham to Saddle Creek, and then continuing via Saddle Creek from Farnham all the way to Center. And then once it gets to 51st and Center, it would continue west the same way that Route 15 does. It would share all the same stops between 51st and Mercy and the Exarban Transit Center. And once it reaches Exarban, it would connect with routes 11, 13, 15, 18, and 55. And the image does show some new stops that would be added in the area not currently served. 2 stops are highlighted in orange to indicate orbit stations at 33rd and Dodge and 42nd and Dodge. Route 30 would stop near those platforms, but not directly at the platform, to facilitate transfers for anyone needing to continue either east or west on orbit. So the timeline for the updates to these schedules. Right now, today opens the public comment period that will go through February 19th. So we're welcoming public feedback and questions, and we will present all of that to our board of directors in the month of March. If approved, those changes would start Sunday, April 19th of 2026. And so those schedules would be made available on our website the week prior to the service starting. And then our MyRide OMA app would go live with the changes on the day that they start on April 19th. And more information can be found at ometro.com/maps-schedules/MyRide-OMA.
All right, thank you, Evan. I will now present the Title VI analysis. This proposal is considered a major change according to Metro's Title VI program plan. Title VI is part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, as amended, and established that no person in the United States shall, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. As a recipient of federal funding, Metro Transit adheres to compliance requirements for Title VI as set forth by the Federal Transit Administration. Metro's current major service change policy goes into effect when there is an addition or elimination of a bus route, a 10% or more addition or reduction in system revenue miles, and/or a 15% or more addition or reduction in revenue miles on any individual route. Revenue miles are the miles when the bus is in service and passengers can be on board. If any proposed service changes meet or exceed these thresholds, Metro conducts a Title VI service equity analysis to cumulatively assess for disparate impact based on race and disproportionate burden based on income. The proposed changes meet the threshold for a major service change because the Route 11 schedule will adjust more than 7 minutes during peak hours. Route 13 and 30 will increase service by more than 15%. And Route 30 will change its route alignment by more than the allowable 3/4 mile buffer. We will review the route level analysis first, and then the cumulative evaluation for disparate impact to racial minority populations and disproportionate burden to low-income populations. Slide 17, Major Service Change, Route 11. As part of Metro's major service change policy, scheduled arrival times, or headways, are adjusted more than 7 minutes during the peak hour periods and 15 minutes during non-peak periods are not exempt from adverse effect reviews. The current service change proposals include schedule adjustments up to 15 minutes during the week for Route 11. The adverse effect of these schedule changes is mitigated by new interline options for Route 11 with Route 106 during the week and Route 4 on the weekend. Connections with Route 18 at the Exarban Transit Center, and a less than 10-minute wait between Route 55 and Route 11 for Route 55 riders heading downtown Monday through Saturday. Slide 18, Major Service Change, Route 13, Minority Impact. Minority populations experience slightly greater benefits with the proposed service changes for Route 13. The benefits are the increased weekday peak service, a 15-minute frequency between the North Downtown and MCC South Transit Center segment of Route 13, that result in increased revenue miles, or essentially more bus service. On this slide, there are two images side by side. The images are of an aerial map view of the city of Omaha, where the short segment of Route 13 travels and the quarter-mile radius around the route. The short segment of Route 13 is between North Downtown to MCC South Transit Center. In both images, there are varying shades of red to indicate the percentage of residents identifying as a racial minority according to the decennial census. The lighter shade represents a lower percentage of the racial minority population in that area, and a darker shade represents a higher percentage. The left image is the population surrounding the route as it existed in December 2025. The right image is the population surrounding the route if the proposed changes are approved and go into effect in April 2026. There are no identifiable differences between the two images, as the proposed service change is frequency, not route alignment. On this slide, there's also a table that indicates the percentage of the benefits experienced by the racial minority population along the route, which is 21.3% additional service, and to non-minority populations, which is 20.2%. The difference shows that racial minority populations experience 1.1% greater benefits than non-racial minority populations. Slide 19, major service change, Route 13, low-income impact. Low-income populations experience slightly greater benefits with the proposed service change to Route 13. On this slide, there are the same side-by-side images as the previous two slides. However, in the images on these slides, there are varying shades of green to indicate the percentage of low-income residents according to the American Community 5-year survey. The lighter shade represents a lower percentage of the low-income population in that area, and a darker shade represents a higher percentage. There are again no identifiable differences between the two images. On this slide, there is also a table that indicates the percentage of the benefits experienced by the low-income population along the route, which is 21.2% additional benefit or additional service, and to the non-low-income population, which is 20.9%. The difference shows that low-income populations experience 0.3% greater benefits than non-low-income populations. Slide 20, major service change, Route 30, minority impact. Non-minority populations experience greater benefits with the proposed service change to Route 30. The benefits result from the realignment of the southern terminus of Route 30 from downtown to Exarban Transit Center via Saddle Creek. It is important to note that the data used in this analysis is residential census data and does not account for travel patterns of residents from beyond the census tracts that will have new access to grocery stores, a hospital, and schools along the corridor. On this slide, there are two side-by-side images. The images are of an aerial map view of the city of Omaha, where the Route 30 travels and the quarter-mile radius around the route. In both images, there are varying shades of red to indicate the percentage of residents identifying as a racial minority according to the decennial census. The lighter shade represents a lower percentage of the racial minority population in that area, and a darker shade represents a higher percentage. The left image is the population surrounding the route as it existed in December 2025, with the southern terminus of the route at 14th and Dodge Streets. The right image is the population surrounding the route if the proposed changes are approved and go into effect in April 2026, with the southern terminus at Exarban Transit Center. There are more non-residential areas in the buffer of the service area for the proposed routing than the existing routing. There are also two tables on this slide. The first indicates the percentage of the benefits experienced by the racial minority population along the route, which is 29.4% additional service, and to non-minority populations, which is 64.5%. The difference shows that racial minority populations experience 35.1% fewer benefits than non-racial minority populations. The second table displays residential population numbers along the current and proposed routing. Currently, there are 21,408 residents within a quarter mile of Route 30. Of those residents, 10,851, or 50.7%, are residents who are racial minorities. For the proposed routing to Ak-Sar-Ben Transit Center, there are 24,181 residents. Of those, 10,809, or 44.7%, are residents who are racial minorities. As a reminder, there are multiple opportunities for Route 30 riders to still get to the downtown area through a transfer, including high-frequency routes such as Route 18, Route 4, and Orbit. Slide 21, Major Service Change, Route 30, Low-Income Impact. Low-income populations experience fewer benefits with the proposed service change to Route 30. On this slide, there are the same side-by-side images as the previous two slides. However, in the images on these slides, there are varying shades of green to indicate the percentage of low-income residents according to the American Community 5-Year Survey. The lighter shade represents a lower percentage of the low-income population in that area, and a darker shade represents a higher percentage. There are additional census areas in the April 2026 image with low-income population percentages of 5.1 to 10.0%, as the routing of Route 30 covers new area between Florence and Ak-Sar-Ben Transit Center via Saddle Creek. There are also two tables on this slide. The first indicates the percentage of the benefits experienced by the low-income population along the route, which is 34.9% additional service, and to the non-low-income population, which is 47.9%. The difference shows that low-income populations experience 13% fewer benefits than non-low-income populations. The second table displays residential population numbers along the current and proposed routing. Currently, there are 21,408 residents within a quarter mile of Route 30. Of those residents, 1,963, or 9.2%, are residents who are low income. For the proposed routing to Ak-Sar-Ben Transit Center, there are 24,181 residents. Of those, 2,038, or 8.4%, are residents who are low income. Slide 22, Major Service Change, Cumulative Impacts. Metro Transit's policy is to evaluate the cumulative impact of proposed service changes for disparate impact on minority populations and disproportionate burden on low-income populations. It is important to note that the proposed additions to service do not come at the expense of reductions in service on other routes. The cumulative impacts of all the proposed service changes reviewed is 4.6% increase in system revenue miles. In looking at the cumulative impact, non-minority populations and low-income populations will experience slightly greater benefits. On this slide, there are two tables. The first table indicates the percentage of the cumulative impact of all proposed service changes to the racial minority population, which is 4.3% additional service, and to the non-racial minority population, which is 4.8%. The difference shows that racial minority populations experience 0.5% fewer benefits than non-racial minority populations. The second table shows the percentage of the cumulative impact of all proposed service changes to the low-income population, which is 5% additional service, and to the non-low-income population, which is 4.6%. The difference shows that low-income populations experience 0.4% greater benefits than non-low-income populations. Cumulatively, there was no disparate impact on racial minority populations and no disproportionate burden on low-income populations found. On this slide, slide 23, it's our contact slide. There's an image of a row of buses in a garage and Metro social media handles. Facebook and Instagram are Metro Transit OMA. YouTube is Metro Transit Omaha. Metro's website is ometro.com. Thank you for joining us today. The remaining time is open for questions or comments. Please also consider submitting an online comment through the form available at ometro.com/February 2026. So we will now look at questions. So it looks like questions have been answered throughout the chat or throughout the presentation. We will enable mics and camera if anybody has questions that they would like to ask.
This is Tim Jefferson from NCBVI. How you doing, Alicia?
Good. How are you, Tim?
Good. My camera's not on, so it won't let me turn it on, but just wanted to say thank you for the information. And I'm always concerned or just curious about how, when we have these new routes, the proposed routes, just to make sure that they are accessible. And so is that also being considered along with the changes?
Yes, the bus stops that will be implemented are being reviewed for accessibility. And we'll be working with the property owners and municipalities partners to make them as accessible as possible.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tim, another thing to add is we are reviewing our onboard announcements. And so as this new route starts, we're hoping to roll out a more expanded list of announcements so that it's more familiar for those that can't see the stop that's approaching. They could at least hear those announcements so that they know the new stop is coming.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I work with the South Omaha Business Improvement District, and I see Route 13 would impact our area. Do you guys, I know you're having a session in Spanish tomorrow, but a lot of people probably won't be able to make it. Do you have like any materials, like marketing materials that we could share? And I don't know if this is something that can be changed on the website. Like, can the website also be changed so people can change it to Spanish if they want to read the information?
Yes, we will be posting the Spanish recording as well as the slides, the same as that we did for the English presentation today. We'll also post the handout, which has the information in English and Spanish. We will be out in the public giving presentations, talking to people one-on-one to make sure that the material is available. And our website can be translated through Google Translate. If you scroll to the bottom, there's the translate option. But we are also happy to provide information directly. If you want to reach out to outreach@ometro.com, we can send you materials.
Yes, please. Yeah. Especially, I think it'd be good to share something before the deadline to submit public comments. So if you have anything, I can type my email here.
Yes.
The yeah, and where do you submit public comments at?
So that is on the website at if you go to ometro.com
Mhm.
slash February 2026, the online comment form will be right there on the website.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, hi. So one of the comments I wanted to make, okay, with some of the route changes or even when people are catching a bus is I catch the bus frequently a lot, especially route number 18 to NOTC. And when a lot of drivers pull up, the head signs don't flip automatically to show the proper destination. So maybe in addition to when you're on the bus, when you hear the doors open, instead of just saying Route 18, maybe say Route 18 headed towards Exarban. Because sometimes you'll see a bus going towards Exarban at 50th and Ames westbound, and it still says downtown. And so people will get on the wrong bus because they're not paying attention to the direction. They just see that the bus is coming and it just says downtown. Um, and also, would there be, do you guys plan on extending any service hours on Sunday? If that's even a possibility with some of these route changes.
Yeah, thank you for your comment, and I agree with you. The what we call a hood sign at the front of the bus, those are supposed to update automatically. So there's a very good chance that if it's not displaying properly, the driver may not even realize that it hasn't updated. So you're always welcome to give that feedback to the operator. But agreed, especially in a location like the North Transit Center, you've got buses in multiple directions all at once, and so it can be very confusing and something that we're um, always trying to improve and make more clear to the public. As for the Sunday service, we do have some slightly expanded service on several routes. So like the new 30 schedule will run a little bit later than it does now on Sundays. And then the 11 schedule, as we mentioned, will get about an hour of additional service on Sunday evening.
Okay,
So
because the reason
it is something that we're working on, but it's not every route at this time.
okay, because I was just saying, as an example, on Sundays I work part time at Walmart on 50th and Ames. So the last bus eastbound is 8:45, and but there are a lot of folks that are still working, you know, later than that. So when I get off work at 10 or 11, I have that nice walk home from 50th and Ames up to 22nd and Ames. So I was just wondering if that would ever be a possibility to have services a little later on Sunday evening instead of just ending about 8:45 at night.
Yeah, thanks for that feedback. It's definitely something we can look into.
All right.
All right, it looks like maybe Clyde has a question. Are you able to unmute?
Yeah, my question is, I couldn't tell from the Route 30 map that you had there if it's going to be going clockwise. In other words, it would pull up to the Exarban Transit Center facing eastbound, and it's already getting a little crowded there with the 18, the 15 turnaround buses, and the 55. So that's going to be a fourth bus that will be there. It's kind of important that they all be there at the same time to affect transfers, but I was just wondering if it's going to be over on the north side of the street or on the south side.
Yes, so it will be on the south side, parked facing east. Due to timing, we have to make sure that Route 30 is at the North Transit Center at the same time as all the other buses. So because of that and the travel times, it doesn't line up with the 15 and 55. So those buses would not be parked at the same time in that location. So it shouldn't be a crowding challenge. But agree with you that we are sending more routes to that area. It's an expanding part of our service, and we need to be mindful of helping riders make those connections.
Okay, yeah, thank you. It's just we have kind of a shortage of platform or sidewalk space there right now, and I understand that the developer won't let you expand it. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this is Tim Jefferson. I have to jump off here and go to another meeting, but thank you. I'll try to get in on some of the other meetings and share this information with all of our consumers. So thanks again.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Comment on anything with the 36 route, or is that pretty much going to stay the same? Vision, but I didn't see the. So is that going to be the same, the 36, or is that going to change?
Yes, no changes are planned for Route 36.
All right.
And I see a comment from Joshua, no changes to Route 8, 5, or 14, and that is correct. No changes planned at this time.
If there are additional questions, we can stay on if folks want to continue the conversation. Otherwise, that concludes our presentation, and we hope everyone will consider submitting a comment through the comment form that is now available on the website. We will have additional meetings, Spanish language meeting tomorrow that is also virtual. And then we will be having a couple of in-person meetings or kind of connection learning opportunities throughout the next week or so. And we hope to see you on board.
And yes, I see Josh's questions. One of the meetings is at NOTC, and that's correct. Yep, we're hoping to spend some time at the Exarban Transit Center, NOTC, as well as downtown, just to catch riders where they are and ensure that they know what's coming.
Evan, this is Raven. I'm still here.
Hi.
Would this be a opportunity to answer questions?
Yes.
I've sent you a couple of things.
Okay, I may have missed that. Can you share with the group?
I was interested in Route 15 and Route 30 going west on Dodge Street. And I was just interested in what stops it makes between 14th Street and Park Avenue for each route.
Sure, on the current detour.
That is correct.
Yeah, I know someone else had mentioned in the chat that the detour seems to lack clear designated stops in that area. So I am not quite sure what the official posted stops are on our detour at this time, but we can revisit it and make sure that it is more clear and that we're offering more frequent stops because that detour is very difficult with the closure of Farnham Street.
That would be great.
Anything else?
The another observation is that Route 15, as it's moving north from Leavenworth to Harney, some of the buses have been taking 38th Avenue and some have been taking 38th Street.
Yes. So there's been a couple different construction projects that impacted our original detour was 38th Street, and that's still the preferred alignment. But there have been occasions over the past few months where 38th Street was also impacted by construction. And so we had to make a temporary switch to 38th Avenue. But the regular detour should be 38th Street.
That makes sense. Thank you for that.
Sure.
I guess I just posted this question in the chat. If with more routes going to Exarban, would there be a possibility of maybe investing in more traditional transit centers like we have at Westroads and NOTC? Because the on-street uh, parking, even though yes, it's fast and it can be convenient, it's like if there's like traffic issues on Mercy Road, the last thing you want blocking traffic is a 40, 50-foot bus. So is it a possibility to consider pulling those off the street and maybe to a more traditional setting like what's at Westroads, what's at NOTC?
Yes, so we are in early stages of asking these same questions of as we have more of a presence, more routes serving the Exarban area, what would be the most ideal long-term facility to facilitate those connections? So we don't have anything designed at this time. No decisions have been made, but it is something that we are exploring.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
This is Raymond. Just wanted to say that this was an excellent presentation. Evan, Alicia, and answered a lot of questions. I think members of the public will appreciate everything that you're doing on this. I know
Great,
that I
thank
do.
you. Yeah, we're thankful to have feedback from our writers. I do see another question in the chat. Any word on a possible 144th Street route between Maple and Center? That is something that was looked at in our Metro Next plan. It is a little bit more out into the future of our timeline, so there's no immediate plans or timeline for when that route would start. But it is something that we are exploring in the long range, probably beyond 2030. Yeah, and then I see Josh had a comment that he'd like to see the 92 expanding to MCC Elkhorn Valley campus. Yes, that is a component of our Metro Next plan. We are in exploratory conversations with Metro Community College. That is not anything that will be ready to start in the foreseeable future, but we continue to coordinate with that agency to see when that connection can be added. We do have about 10 minutes left in our meeting. So we'll stay online until 1 p.m. If you think of any other questions, just let us know.
Evan, this is Raymond again.
Mhm.
Do you have access to specific IDs on your MyRide route map?
Can you explain your question further?
I'm looking at ID 2112 and ID 3698. I think one of them is referencing a stop on Douglas Street at Park Avenue, possibly southeast. I don't know which one it actually is. I think the signed street on the street is 3698.
Okay. Yeah, without seeing it, um, those sound like stop IDs. If you could put those numbers in the chat, that's something that we
Okay,
could probably explore and verify. So is your concern that they may be labeled improperly?
that is correct.
Okay. Yeah, if you can provide that information in the chat, then we can look into it and correct anything if it truly is an error. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evan, there's a question about will there be increased service on 106? That way it can better serve the airport, especially once construction is done.
Yes, so that is something that we are exploring. We won't be increasing the number of trips at this time. So the proposed changes to the 106 really just shift the timing of the current trips by a couple minutes. So no increases yet, but it is something we're looking at doing hopefully in the future.
Before we close out in a couple of minutes, wanting to just kind of make a plug for our microtransit pilot service, especially in relation to the question about 144th Street between Maple and Center. That area would be served by our microtransit west zone. Maple is the northern boundary of the west zone, 144th is the western boundary, and then Center is the southern boundary. If people are interested in kind of looking at those zones a little more, you can go to metroflexoma.com. You can also look at our system map, which has the zones, and you can see how it connects to our bus system. All right, Evan, one more question. Also, with Creighton constantly buying up land, will Metro be forced to possibly consider moving?
Yeah, you never know. Creighton is building quite a bit, but
Well, I've grown up in Omaha, and every time Creighton buys something, something has to move. And especially with all the construction that they've done around the garage, I'm thinking, well, y'all got all that empty land next to NOTC. You might as well put it to good use. Possibly give it a thought because it's possibly coming.
sure. Yeah, I'm sure there would be a lot further discussions before anything that big would be decided. But yeah, interesting comment.
I did also neglect to mention that in the conversation around microtransit, the airport is served by the North Microtransit Zone as well. So that would be additional service to those areas.
Hi, this is Raymond. For the new proposed 30 at 42nd Street in Dodge, will it actually stop at the 42nd and Street Dodge Orbit Center, or will it go around it?
So the westbound direction, it would exit to the jug handle turn.
Okay.
And so it would go back behind the orbit station and then make its southbound turn. In the opposite direction, it would come north on 42nd and turn east on Dodge. So it would go directly in front of that orbit station, but it would not stop at the platform.
I guess I'm just trying to clarify, will it be making a stop anywhere around 42nd and Dodge?
Yes. Yep. So we want to make sure that we have bus stops for Route 30 as close as we can get to those orbit platforms without getting in the way.
Okay.
So like the northbound 30, for example, would probably stop at 42nd Street at Dodge before the turn.
I see. Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Maybe for safety of the buses, because Dodge is a nightmare for anyone, especially when you're trying to turn that corner. Maybe instead of them coming down Dodge, maybe have them come down Davenport at 42nd, where it's a lot safer, so that where there's less likeliness of being hit. Because when Midtown Transit Center was there, people had enough sense to look out for the buses. But when Midtown was taken out, people sort of forgot that buses would go up and down that street. And maybe just a consideration, instead of using Dodge, yeah, it's right there. Maybe that point deviate to Davenport. That way, less likeliness folks are getting hit and less likeliness of a collision with the bus.
Sure. Yeah, we can definitely be monitoring that area for safety concerns. We did have our operations and safety departments review the recommended turns as part of this route change. And so we do feel comfortable that there's enough space to safely make these maneuvers with a 40-foot bus. And we are at our 1 o'clock time. So with that, we will be wrapping up.
Thank you to
you again.
everyone for joining. Comments are accepted online through Sunday, March 1st at ometro.com/February 2026. They can also be submitted in person at the upcoming meetings or by mail as well. And all of that information is on that webpage. Thank you all.
Yep, thanks.